exciting. It's going to be a fun one to watch for. Best of 5 coming up tomorrow. Unicorns of Love versus TSM, but that's going to do it for us here at the Castle Desk. Let's throw it down to TSM's mid and AD carry to see what they think about it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and good cast on the day. I'm joined here by Bjergsen and Doublelift after a grueling and tense victory. Let's start with Bjerg. You made the game-winning play, Petrifying Gaze after the flash, managed to make it work. One play, but why did it take 50 minutes to set up that play?
Yeah, I was just really bored of how the game was playing because I got such a big lead, but I wasn't able to really do anything. And they kept blowing my flash with the Gragas flashing in, or we had a team fight where I had to use my flash. So I had 10-15 minutes without flash, so I was not able to look for that play. So when I finally had it back up and I saw a perk split, I was like, let's just get this over with.
Well, definitely was an exciting end to the group stage. Doublelift, let's reflect on all 6 games. Pretty clear that TSM was the stronger performing team, really out of all 6. Is that a fair statement to make? What do you think?
I guess, yeah. I think we just had a really set style and sort of team play style coming into this thing. And some of the other teams were they're either learning like the EU teams and trying to figure out oh, how are we going to beat the NA drafts or the NA team comps. And then I think Phoenix 1 and C9 were, they're just playing a very unique style to them.
Unique style to them. It seems like you guys didn't have a huge amount of problems with the EU squads. Lift, you specifically, one of the narratives this summer has been, lacking some confidence, not feeling quite as strong as you used to. Had some strong words to say about EU bottom lanes, and you've backed them up. Was it exactly as you expected, or was there really some competition?
It was actually easier than I expected. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Reckless and Jezus were gonna be better, but they're pretty awful in lane. And then
I love you so much,
I think UL's
Peter.
bottom lane is actually a lot better than I expected. I think Samix and Hillsong, they were off my radar, but they actually played pretty well in both the games we played them.
I'm gonna ask a similar question. EU mids, apparently they feed at Rift Rivals. Bjergsen, what was competition like for you here, specifically in that mid lane matchup?
I think it really depended game by game. I think Perks, he still played pretty well. In this game, he was put in a bad position because of Haunster's roam. Pretty much put him in a position where he was going to get screwed over no matter what. But Exilia had a bad game and then a good game on Vlad. And I think Caps has just been heavily underperforming this tournament. I had pretty high expectations for him going in, and I think he just didn't perform well this tournament at all. So I think Exilia and Perks didn't play too bad, but Caps did not have his best tournament.
I'm interested to see how well Exile performs tomorrow. The only team to take a game off you guys, Bjergsen. Final best of 5. How different is that beast versus the BO1s that you've been playing for the last 3 days?
I mean, we'll just have to see how much cheese you all can pull out to beat us. Because I think it's apparent that we're the better team, and they were able to win off a really strong team composition that they could execute. But UL is they just play worse, but then they have a really strong team fight where they ace the enemy team and then win. So if we can continue our snowball, the series shouldn't be a problem.
Apparent you're the better team. Doublelift, UOL has a winning record against Team Solar Mid, franchise versus franchise. Does that give them an advantage tomorrow in the finals? Can EU claim the title despite losing 6-12 in the group stage?
Wow. I think I wasn't a part of that, the losing record against UOL, so...
Oh, so just passing the blame,
Yeah, exactly. It's not my fault. I think, just like Soren said, it's gonna come down to which team has better fundamentals, and, we've been working super hard, all split, and if we just don't get cheesed, we're good.
Don't get cheesed. Well, I hope they cheese you. Anyways, guys, congratulations. Exceptionally good performance here on the group stage. I'm looking forward to the finals. And we're gonna head to the analyst desk to wrap up the day.
Thank you very much, QuickShot, and thank you very much, both Bjergsen and Doublelift. Let them spin, man. That's what they were made to do. All right. Anyway, TSM closes out that game over G2, and it became a really scrappy one, which I think was quite interesting, but a rightful winner in the end. We're going to just take a look at one big team fight that solved the deal in the end, brought to you by Acer for TSM, even though it got a bit hairy. So let's look at what happens here. It's Bjergsen finally flashing in for that big play.
Yeah, we're waiting for a big play all game, basically, because Doublelift and Bjergsen both had the potential to carry at this point. So it's all about who finds the right engage at the right time. And Bjergsen just seeing the opportunity, finding Perks off guard and basically deciding the team fight to begin with. was pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, I think up until this point, G2's front line was playing better, but TSM had the stronger scaling back line, so that's why it took so long. And there were so many of these team fights that were, you know, touch and go there.
Yeah, and on top of that, they knew that they were playing for place in the final, so I guess that the mental aspect was also kicking in there.
I mean, to be fair, they also had more tools in their front line with the Gragas ult and the Nara engage. So I think it was just a really back and forth game for the last like 15 minutes where it could have went either way. But in this tournament, it just seems like G2 is not really in a spot where when it's really close, that they will take the game. So I wasn't really surprised that in the end TSM won the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe to round off, talking about what we've seen from G2, because if we look at the tournament holistically, it was a big question of will this be the tournament where they step back into form? And for so many weeks in EU, we've said, well, it's definitely going to be this week, it's definitely going to be this week, but this is cause for concern, I think, or am I overreacting? Amazing.
I'm not quite sure. Like, I think that this tournament kind of served G2 as a memory to their old ways, which is basically like playing the 4-1 style. This is actually the supposedly dominant play style within like the world. So what I'm rather thinking is that like G2 now is going to start playing towards a style and actually be confident within it. And it's not going to try to adapt to UL or Fnatic anymore, and it's actually going to push forward what they think is right.
All right, well, we'll see if that happens. We've seen a lot of action so far at Rift Rivals 2017, and here are the results from the group phase. North America's teams winning 12 games over Europe's best, who only got to win 6 in the end. That is rough. That is rough. Definitely not what we expected. If you guys had been playing, obviously, it would have been completely different.
Me, right? Yeah.
Definitely not.
No, definitely not. Well, the Unicorns of Love are the ones that are victorious from the side of Europe. Kobe, what was unexpected for you in how the games went and how the teams went?
Today, actually, not much was unexpected. I think pretty much everything went to chalk today. As far as the last interview that we just saw from Doublelift and Bjergsen, though, talking about as long as we don't get cheesed, I mean, I don't think grouping up as 5 mid and going for a team fight to try and engage on someone is cheese, so... I
thought that was pretty weak, because he said, I hope we don't get cheesed. We did see them drafting a complicated composition and getting a strong performance and good team fights, and I was like, what? So that's good, isn't it? But, you know, in general, cheese is not a thing.
I think it more comes down to if TSM is able to control the early game and push their leads, because they have been showing that they are playing well in the early game and getting leads. And against UL, you are not. If you make small mistakes, they will capitalize on it, and then so you pretty much need to play a flawless game, and then. If that happens, then I think TSM will stomp you if that happens, obviously.
Yeah, I think that like this whole cheating part is kind of iffy, and like I think that UL is doing what TSM is doing to a small extent. They basically just like play teamfight comps, like 4-1 comps that succeed in their own. I don't think there's anything cheaty about it. I just think that TSM is stronger macro-wise, and they're actually like more controlled. Their ward coverage is more on point. So all the things they're doing are just like on a step above UL. So I'm rather going to see, like, looking forward to seeing how UL is actually adapting to the VOD coverage they have now, to actually, like, seeing how TSM is warding and basically controlling the map and how they're going to respond to that.
So they're on par with UL in everything and better, actually. I agree with that, besides maybe that crunch time team fighting. So can that make the difference?
Surely, like, UL has been really, really good under pressure, whereas, like, TSM is, like, you know, they're back and forth. So I think that UL, if it comes down to a 50-50 call, like whether it's Drake, Nash, or a team fight, they're going to have the upper hand. That's
where they have the chance. Let's see if we can find some clues in the stats breakdown of EU versus NA, where TSM or Unicorns of Love might have an edge. The early game for North America has been really, really good, and also for Unicorns of Love specifically, it's not been good, whereas it has been in the ULCS, so that might be a problem for them. Objective control is also still lacking, so in the numbers game overall, it should be an easy win.
But I mean, UL has shown that objective control for them doesn't actually matter that much, as long as they can get that one fight where they can just roll over the enemy team. So I don't think we should look too much into the stats for UL specifically, because they play a very specific style where what matters is the team fight and what item spikes to have in that fight.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that people need to keep in mind these post-15-minute lane assignments. If you're playing versus Unicorns of Love, never send your AD carry off to the side lane to split push, right? Because he's not going to be able to join. They will engage on you, and that's where they look for those team fights.
If we look at, you know, if you want to judge, of course, also we're kind of judging EU versus NA in this tournament, as is the nature of the tournament, not inciting flame. But stats like having horrible objective control, overall about all the teams that you're sending versus all the other teams, a goal deficit that isn't able to be up to par in 1 games overall. You know, as you guys who are playing in the European region and playing towards Worlds and want to see good results there from either teams, what do you make of that?
It comes down to the mindset you have as a team, because we have seen the style that Fnatic brings in Europe has been working in Europe, but what are your actual goals? Like, is it to be able to perform at Worlds? Because then, if you're getting beaten, if your style is getting beaten by NA teams, like how is it going to look against Korean teams? So, I think the teams in Europe needs to reevaluate how they approach the game, and then hopefully we will get better.
Yeah, I think this goal setting is a really, really big point. Like we've heard like TSM, for example, their approach has always been to win Worlds, even if it may not be possible. That is their ultimate goal. Whereas the EU teams have been stepping back from that. Like, there are a lot of teams that are happy with where they are, like winning domestically. They're not trying to make changes, like to basically make the roster bigger, make the roster better, but they're rather confident and comfortable with where they are. And I think this kind of goal setting is going to change now with this event, with Rift Riots having come in, and obviously like still going on, like that EU teams are going to be less comfortable with where they are, especially the top two teams that just got destroyed in this tournament, that they're going to now reevaluate and be like, hey, we actually want to compete against these teams, and we actually want to go further than just like losing out in groups.
Wake up call for them.
I totally agree. I think as bad as it has looked in this tournament for EU, that we have been smashed by NA in some of the games, I think it should be a wake-up call for the EU teams that want to succeed on international competition. That because I know for sure that some of the EU teams thought that this style that they brought to the table, like Fnatic, for example, with these questionable drafts that on paper shouldn't actually work as well as it has done in the split, thought they could beat the teams here at the Rift Rivals. So wake-up call for sure, and I think it will only make EU better in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's see how it evolves. Well, we've also seen many strong performances in the group phase, but one player really stands out. Phoenix One's Mike Young was the hard carry in his international debut. As our group stage MVP, we actually all tallied votes amongst everyone casting and analyzing every game, and then tallied who had the most. And that was Mike Young, and well-deserved. Fantastic performance as a rookie in his first international tournament. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, so those votes you're talking about tallying, those are player of the game votes.
Yes,
so those
exactly.
are within the games that the teams played. And Mike Young was usually getting the nod there for Phoenix One on their side because he's the most flashy player. I personally voted for EpicSkillshot in quite a few of those games.
Not enough, though.
Really did. Yeah, not enough, I guess. Did like a lot of the Thresh play. Honestly, though, this guy definitely deserves it. Mike Young has completely changed the face of this team. And even though, EpicSkillshot did come in a fairly, similar time, Mike Young has been outstanding and changed the actual way that they play the game.
That's a catalyst, right? Together with EpicSkillshot.
So my question is, I mean, I don't follow NA as much as you do, Kobe, but is he the best jungler in the world?
I think it's pretty safe to say that we're working on his championship skin right now.
Sounds good.
It is quite interesting, though. They almost made it to the final. They didn't, but you say he had a standout performance. He's great, and we just kind of mentioned EpicSkillshot, but it's obviously those two together, probably also a bit of the experience he's bringing, able to kind of enable the rest of the players again, because Arrow was the MVP over in spring. Ryu has had some of the best games I've seen him play in probably 2 years, and Ziggo's on fire too. So that brings high hopes for them back in NA. So do you see them making the playoffs and further?
In their interview after winning, they said, we got a lot better on our plane flight over here, so they got a plane flight back. Maybe they'll get twice as good.
No, it's going to revert everything.
Or reverse it?
Time zone difference coming in.
Oh, well, we won't see them in the final, but we will be back here tomorrow for the final fight between TSM and the Unicorns of Love. Game 1 starts at 6 p.m. Central European Summer Time, so that is an hour later than we've started the last couple of days. A best-of-5 between TSM and the Unicorns of Love. Not the final what is it, the hero we deserve, or whatever, doesn't matter. Not
Good one.
Yeah. We thought it was going to be TSM Fnatic was my point, but in the end we get the Unicorns of Love, which is also a nice final to watch.
And I think that having seen the games, they definitely deserve it, right? Unicorns are the ones that banded together. They stuck to their style of that basically ram it straight down mid with the 5-on-5, drafting more towards their team. You know, guys like Exile, he deserves some credit as well for kind of stabilizing, right? It can be really, you know, damaging to a player's, you know, mental health when you start out a tournament that bad and everyone's just flaming you. It was literally like 0-16 or something in the first couple of games. Yet he was able to right the ship. You know, he went back to the Kassadin, played some team fight on Vladimir, and did show up later.
And I think if there's something we can say about the final tomorrow is that it's going to be exciting to watch because we know that there will be super explosive fights in the mid game, and I think we all love to see that. So I think either way, it's going to be a final that will be fun to watch.
And memorable. You guys won't be on the desk tomorrow, so could I get your predictions for that one?
I can start. I think that TSM is going to win 3-2, and I think they're going to win the last game pretty cleanly, actually. So it's going to be like, you know, back and forth, and the last game is going to be stomped.
All right, trashy.
Say it.
I don't even know,
You
man.
pride. You pride.
My heart says the EU
I
is
can
going
see
to
you
win.
tearing up. Are you trying to cry? All right, this is really hurting you.
No, I think TSM will take it.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the score, but TSM should be able to take it.
Yeah, I as well. They definitely, in the group stage, look to be the best team in the tournament. Unicorns have improved over the group stage, but I don't think it's enough.
It would be fantastically logical if TSM won it, but they're playing against the Unicorn. So let's hope for 5 explosive games. And on top of that, Freak will be hosting a bot lane focus stream covering the finals with some special guests, G2's Sven and Phoenix One's X Special. So don't be late, because that will be a very, very cool alternative stream to tune into as well. Time for us to log off for the night. Thank you guys very much for watching, and meet us back here tomorrow for the final between TSM and the Unicorns of Love. Have a great night.